A group of wolves were snarling fiercely at the individual in front of them. Soon after, the pack leader showed up. The leader stood tall, perched atop the smaller wolves, ready to assist them. They encircled the mysterious creature that radiated a powerful black aura. The creature, not resembling any known animal, exuded an evil presence. Shortly, the pack leader let out a howl, signaling the wolves to attack the mysterious creature. However, the smaller wolves were quickly overpowered and slain. The monster's large claws and hands crushed the wolves instantly. Shortly thereafter, the leader of the pack prepared to launch an attack. The large wolf lunged forward, ready to sink its massive fangs into the monster. But it was caught off guard when the monster grasped its mouth, preventing it from biting. The creature bit down on the big wolf's neck, immobilizing it with its powerful grip. It feasted on its prey, successfully tearing out the wolf's throat. Creatures endowed with magical energy and abilities are referred to as mystical creatures. A select few mystical creatures were given human forms by the gods, incarnating as prophets to serve and benefit humanity. However, there also existed an evil incarnation of that power. The people referred to this evil incarnation as the demon god. A man was hastily running through the woods. He tried to quicken his pace to ensure that he wasn't caught by the people chasing him. As he ran, he called out for help, hoping someone would come to his rescue. Unbeknownst to him, an arrow was about to strike him. Suddenly, the arrow caught up with him and struck him directly. The men chasing him praised the archer for his precise shot. They aimed to take everything from their hunt and return to the village before sunset. As they headed back, they discussed how the forest felt particularly eerie that day. Suddenly, they halted, taken aback by something surprising they encountered. They saw that the area was scattered with the corpses of a pack of wolves. They looked around, wondering if a territorial dispute among the wolves might have caused the carnage. Suddenly, one of their men called out to a man named Martin. He informed Martin that there was the corpse of a mystical creature nearby, with an unconscious man lying beside it. They wondered about the identity of the man sitting beside the mystical creature, curious about his connection to the scene. They speculated whether the man might be the one responsible for killing the mystical being. So they decided to approach and examine the man to learn more. Suddenly, the man reaching out was taken aback by an unexpected intervention. He was bitten by a small, red-looking lizard that appeared out of nowhere. His men told him to calm down, assuring him that they would take care of the lizard. Just as he was about to approach the lizard, something suddenly intervened. The man was caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events. In an instant, they were shocked to see that his hands had been cut off, and the previously unconscious man was now awake. Shortly thereafter, the mysterious man who had just awakened punched the bald man in the group. He delivered a powerful punch, completely damaging the bald man's face. The mysterious man then warned the group not to touch the lizard without his permission. He threatened that he would kill them if they attempted to touch the lizard. The group of men were surprised and thought that the man was looking to pick a fight with them. One of the men recognized him and told his companions that this was the man who had killed their companion, Hans. But the man denied the accusation, insisting that Hans was still alive. As the group of men prepared to fight, he readied his weapon in response. He threatened them, causing them to tremble and become unsure of what to do next. The man's fury grew, and he began to emit a strange aura, adding to the tension in the air. Despite the intimidating aura, the group of men decided to charge at him anyway. So he positioned himself defensively, ready to counter their attack. In an instant, he struck down the charging men with a single, swift move. They screamed as parts of their bodies were inexplicably sliced during the attack. Trembling with fear, they began to view the man as a monster, given the terrifying ease with which he inflicted harm. Despite the fear and chaos, Martin remained determined and still wanted to try to confront the man. The archers in the group told the man to halt his movement, urging caution. He was surprised when he realized that they were being attacked from behind. The men shouted and signaled the archers to shoot at the mysterious man. Without haste, they carefully aimed and directed their arrows toward the target. As they prepared to shoot, the mysterious man took the lizard from his shoulder. He shielded the lizard with his body, letting the arrows hit him instead. However, even after firing, They remained unsure whether they had successfully finished him off. To their surprise, they observed that the man's skin was transforming, hinting at his unusual nature. His complexion bore numerous red and dark blemishes, emitting a surge of malevolent energy. He released a tremendous surge of energy throughout his body, reminiscent of looming shadows cast by monstrous beings. They came to the realization that he embodied the essence of a demonic deity. Suddenly, the man's eyes underwent a transformation. All the dark energy suddenly dissipated into thin air. The man fell to his knees and attempted to restrain his own body. However, he was unsuccessful, and the group of men managed to apprehend him successfully. Night descended, and the men returned to their village. The village leader couldn't believe the manifestation of the mystical creature his men brought. He was astonished by the creature's immense size. Furthermore, he was taken aback when he learned that the man who had been chained up was the one responsible for slaying the mystical creature. The lizard accompanying the demon god was also captured and confined in a cage. Suddenly, the man advised them to promptly incinerate the mystical creature and dispose of it. However, they were unwilling to heed his advice. Shortly after, the leader approached the man and inquired about his name and motive for slaying the creature. The man responded that he did it because he was hungry. The leader found it unbelievable, but his men dismissed the man as unworthy of consideration. He informed his leader that the man had suddenly transformed into a colossal monster. They suspected that the man himself might be the demon god preying on corpses throughout the region. He attempted to persuade the leader to examine the man closely. He argued that the marks on the mystical creature's body were evidence of the man consuming it. Furthermore, he asserted that the man was a demonic god in human guise. Suddenly, the man they accused smirked and laughed. The man, visibly angered, demanded to know what was amusing. His remarks frightened them, causing them to feel apprehensive. The man questioned whether they would feel at ease with the creature merely being restrained by chains. Beneath the moon's glow, the man cautioned them that they were unaware of what awaited them in the village. The village was enveloped in an unsettling atmosphere. Suddenly, a trickle of blood began to drip from the leader's shoulder. He spun around and beheld something that filled him with terror. To his astonishment, the mystical creature rose from the ground, seemingly resurrected, and proceeded to devour one of his comrades. The man explained that the wolf was no ordinary carcass, but a creature whose existence had been reduced to serving as the hands and feet of a demon god. As a consequence, panic swept through the village. The demon god, accompanied by a pack of wolves, launched its assault. It loomed behind the wolves, exuding a malevolent aura. It was indeed the true demon god that had been rumored to feast on corpses. The demon god signaled the pack of wolves to launch their attack. The wolves breached the village's barrier, climbing through with ease. Consequently, the men were slaughtered and devoured by the wolves. Suddenly, a fiery object crashed into the wooden barrier. The impact ignited a massive blaze, incinerating the climbing wolves. The spreading fire engulfed the barrier, making it difficult for the wolves to pass through. Many of them were burned and unable to continue climbing. Suddenly, a large, strange object was hurled to the side of the demon god. To its surprise, it was the head of the mystical creature. The demon god looked up, pondering who had thrown it. To its surprise, the man with scars emerged. The man unleashed a surge of energy through his body, conjuring shadows of monstrous entities. It broke through the barrier and the flames with ease. It thirsted and hungered for flesh and bones. The man transformed entirely into a demon creature, advancing relentlessly towards the demon god. Confident in his current state, he believed he could devour the demon god with ease. The demonic being strode amidst the blazing inferno. He warned the demon god that he would twist him out of shape. He declared his intention to make him resemble prey teetering on the brink of death. But the demon god remained unshaken and even advanced, stepping onto the wolf's head. The demon god growled fiercely, as if summoning something. Suddenly, something appeared behind it. A horde of mythical creatures, under the control of the demon god, charged forward. They surged directly towards the demonic being, all at once. However, they were instantly halted by its bare hands. The demonic being shoved the mystical creatures down to the ground. Quickly, the demon prepared its feet to sprint. it swiftly rushed toward the group of mystical beings. He easily defeated all the creatures in his path and was drawing near to the demon god. Seeing that he was approaching, the demon god unleashed a powerful surge of energy. He was transforming and becoming a phantom himself. Consequently, the demon god physically transformed into an even more fearsome adversary. Quickly, the demonic being and the demon god charged at each other. As a result, they collided, creating a vast sea of smoke. Both sustained injuries, resulting in bloodshed. The larger demon gained the upper hand and managed to strike the demon god first. The larger demon roared, making its wrath known to the demon god. But the demon god was unfazed and launched a counterattack. However, it was surprised when the larger demon grabbed its hands and caught it. It saw that the demon was gearing up to throw a punch. The bigger demon managed to land a successful punch on the demon god, using its upper hand to do so. This caused a huge force that kicked up a massive cloud of dust. As the demon god fell, he reached out to grab it. But shortly thereafter, the larger demon transformed back into the form of a man. Suddenly, the flesh of the demon god split open. He noticed something inside and walked over to take a closer look. To his surprise, he found a figure with silver hair inside it. Quickly, he reached in and grabbed the figure within the flesh of the demon. Holding its neck, he was shocked and could hardly believe what he was seeing. He was stunned to discover that it was a mystical creature in human form. Suddenly, he sensed that someone was about to attack him. He quickly turned around to see who was behind the attack. However, the attack came too swiftly, and he couldn't dodge it in time. A strange crow suddenly appeared in front of him. The crow flew down and landed on the ground. Instantly, the man understood the significance of the crow's appearance. He realized that it was the real demon god, the one who consumed corpses and controlled the mystical creatures. Suddenly, the crow was on the verge of transforming. The crow transformed into the form of a man. The man, now in human form, expressed his disbelief, unable to accept that his controlled creatures could be defeated so easily. He then revealed to the man who had defeated his puppets that he had been watching him ever since he set foot on the land, disguised as a crow. Suddenly, the man hurled the person he was holding towards the other man. The man told the demon that he almost fell over while he was mumbling. The demon fell silent as the man told him that he was not interested in hearing his story. The man challenged the demon to bring it on, declaring that he would kill him. Accepting the challenge, the demon instantly transformed. It transformed into an even larger crow, gearing up for the confrontation. The demon explained to the man that his powers enabled him to control corpses, and if he managed to kill him and take control of his body, he would gain a stronger puppet to command. Shortly after, the demon whispered an incantation to transform into a phantom. Shortly thereafter, the corpses began to transform. The people who had died earlier also rose from the dead. The man found himself surrounded by the corpses, now controlled by the crow. The crow commanded the corpses to attack and kill the man. One of the corpses lunged from the wall and bit the man on his shoulder. Shortly after, a spear also pierced through him, further wounding him. The man, already bitten, was then held down by the corpses. Unable to move, the man was vulnerable as the demon crow advanced to finish him off completely. As the crow's claw pierced him, it inflicted a severe wound. The crow, pleased with its advantage, anticipated that the man would cry out in despair before his death. However, the man remained still, showing no signs of distress. To its surprise, the man managed to smile despite his dire situation. Shortly after, the man's body began to transform, releasing a surge of energy from within him. This burst of energy was so powerful that it reduced all the surrounding corpses to ashes. The demon crow was also taken aback, surprised by the immense power the man displayed. Suddenly, the demon crow realized something crucial about the nature of the man's power. As the man transformed, he became a fearsome demon, releasing shadows of demonic energy that swirled around him. He smiled at the demon crow and told it that he wanted to hear it howl like a beast. Shortly after, the demon crow was surprised to see the shadows released by the man suddenly attacking. The shadows swiftly enveloped the crow, biting it off instantly. The crow couldn't react in time and was severely damaged by the sudden and vicious attack. To its terror, The crow's body felt as if it were being enveloped by the souls of the corpses. It couldn't move and could barely breathe, with only its head protruding. Shortly thereafter, the soul severed the crow's head completely. Meanwhile, amidst the chaos, the white-haired girl regained consciousness. As she heard the commotion around her, she tried to sit up to see what was happening. To her surprise, she saw the demon transforming back. She was completely stunned, unable to believe the surreal and chaotic scene unfolding before her eyes. After a moment, the chaos cleared enough for her to see the man's distinct appearance come into view. As the man turned around, he was still enveloped in a swirling black energy. The girl felt a surge of fear as she watched the man, still shrouded in dark energy, begin walking toward her. But as he approached, the dark energy surrounding him began to slowly fade away. He reassured the girl, telling her that she was now free from the demon god's control. Suddenly, the girl clutched her head, feeling a sharp ache as a wave of pain washed over her. Amidst the pain, fragments of a memory surfaced, something about a wing. She remembered coming across something that looked like a glowing wing. He was taken aback to hear her say something along those lines. He understood that they both had fallen victim to it. Then the man asked the girl to tell him what had happened. He questioned the girl whether he too had been a victim of the wings. But the girl, not understanding what he was referring to, asked him who he was. He explained that he was Ananta, a descendant of the Black Dragon and a survivor. The girl was taken aback by his identity and his purpose. He revealed that he devoured all the demon gods and was the one destined to slay the incarnation of the wings. In brief, the sun made its appearance. The bodies of the creatures lay strewn across the ground. Ananta and the girl were still deep in conversation. The girl was still reeling from the shock of Ananta revealing that he was the one destined to devour all the demons in the world. She was shocked because she never anticipated he would say something like that. Suddenly, the girl was overcome with terror. She informed Ananta that she had no idea what he was referring to. Ananta watched her as she displayed her confusion. She felt completely lost. Suddenly, the girl collapsed. Ananta believed the girl was mentally overwhelmed by all the information she had received since waking up. He felt pity for the girl, realizing that she too was a victim. The girl dreamt she was fleeing from something, and an image suddenly appeared in her mind. She was running quickly and gasping for air. Suddenly, the image of the demon she had become flashed in her mind. She was terrified when she turned around, fearing it was hunting her. The girl attempted to outrun the demon chasing her, but she suddenly tripped and fell onto soft ground. As a result, she stumbled and was shoved onto the ground. At that moment, she realized that she was covered in blood. In the water, she saw that her reflection was the demon she had been before. Suddenly, she also saw the corpses of all the creatures and humans she had killed. She was shocked and couldn't believe what she had done with her bare hands. Suddenly, a glowing wing appeared behind her, leaving her shocked. She turned around and felt a surge of hope. In that final image, she saw it smiling at her. She sat up quickly when she noticed another girl greeting her. The girl with the long pink hair told her that she had been in a lot of pain while she slept, and she thought she might have had a nightmare. Suddenly, she heard someone call out the name Ruby. To her surprise, it was the man, and Ruby turned out to be the lizard. The man gave Ruby a command to start, and the lizard quickly burst out fire. The lizard unleashed a powerful surge of fire. The fire emitted by the lizard was no ordinary flame. The fire resembled the souls of creatures that had been slain by Ananta as they were controlled by the demon gods. More souls of the deceased began to emerge through the flames. Ananta gazed seriously at the unfolding scene. He then informed the girl with pink hair that the monster possessed by the demons had been dealt with. Ananta stood in front of the girl, who praised him, saying he had worked hard again this time. But Ananta wasn't pleased and lightly bumped his fist on her head. He told her to shut up and called her a trash info dealer. Suddenly, Ananta pointed toward the white-haired girl and told the pink-haired girl that her inaccurate information had cost him even more. He declared their deal finished and urged her to pay him. But the girl kept a smile on her face, unfazed by Ananta's attitude. Shortly after, she asked for the name of the white-haired girl. The white-haired girl responded that her name was Nadia. Nadia was surprised when the girl expressed her disbelief that she, too, was a victim of the wing. However, Ananta told the girl to stop talking about that topic. So she told Ananta that he had a hasty personality. Suddenly, she pulled out a circular object which started emitting magic when she pressed it. All of a sudden, the ground beneath them completely vanished. As a result, they fell down below. Ananta and the girl were not shocked by this turn of events, but Nadia was. Nadia closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the fear of falling. However, she opened them again after feeling something strange. To her surprise, when she opened her eyes, they had suddenly arrived in another world. She turned to the pink-haired girl, realizing she was the one responsible for their sudden transport to another world. So, the girl introduced herself as a member of the continent's largest information network, an information dealer known by the name Whitefoot. She informed Nadia that she had a long-standing relationship with Ananta. Furthermore, she explained that the place they were in is the largest trading city in the south, and the giant lotus tree in front of them is a sacred tree known as the lotus tree. While she was explaining, Nadia interrupted her, telling her to stop. They were surprised when Nadia told them that she didn't want to hear any more of their stories. Nadia then asked why they had brought her to an unknown city. But Ananta told her to shut up and instructed her to follow him. He told her that he would show her the reason he brought her there. While they were walking, Nadia asked what kind of person the incarnation of the wings he was chasing is. Ananta told her that it was a disgusting beast who mistakes itself for a god. Whitefoot mentioned that the incarnation of wings can also bestow potent abilities on others. She explained that it's an imperfect power, one that's uncertain whether to be considered a blessing or a curse. Nadia was still puzzled and wanted to ask why, but the conversation was cut short as they reached their destination. To her surprise, they arrived at a street filled with people, each leading others who were chained. The people in chains were bound to their masters, indicating a clear power dynamic. A child was among those chained, with its hands tied as well. Suddenly, a man on the street greeted them, welcoming them to the slave market of cafes. Whitefoot explained that the market had been growing rapidly. While she was looking around, she also noticed a beast that was confined within a cage. Whitefoot mentioned that even spirit beasts were being sold in the market. So, Nadia asked what the place had to do with the incarnation of the wings. Suddenly, Nadia was taken aback when Ananta kicked her. Nadia fell off the stairs as she was forcefully kicked. She felt pain and couldn't believe what Ananta and Whitefoot had done to her. To her surprise, she realized she wasn't alone. She noticed a group of people in the room with her, all of whom were also confined in that place. She observed the faces of the people around her and thought that they appeared to have been physically abused. Moreover, she noticed that there were also women like her among those confined. Nadia was shocked and couldn't believe how many people were there with her. Suddenly, Ananta told her that the people around her were living sacrifices to be offered to the incarnation of the wings. Ananta explained that the people were victims of human sacrifices which took place at the top of the sacred tree. As Ananta was about to leave, he told her that she must serve as bait. She was shocked to learn that they planned to use her to lure and capture the incarnation of the wings. Ananta explained to her that she was bait, just like the other people confined there. Ananta instructed Whitefoot to handle the rest. Meanwhile, Nadia attempted to climb the stairs. She yelled out to Ananta and Whitefoot to get their attention. Nadia inquired if the people confined there were their responsibility. Ananta responded that if they were responsible, he questioned what she planned to do about it. Nadia became angry and told him to stop fooling around. She accused them of being evil for exploiting innocent people as tools to accomplish their objectives. Ananta listened as Nadia asked him if he felt any guilt about it. However, Ananta told her that exacting revenge isn't possible without getting their hands dirty. Nadia was shocked by his response, as she hadn't expected him to be so cold. Angered, Nadia declared that she couldn't accept such a fate. Suddenly, Whitefoot spoke up, saying that her feelings were understandable. Whitefoot then pointed out that they had captured the poor humans. She sarcastically remarked about the terrible things the humans would suffer at the hands of the incarnation of wings. Seeing Whitefoot feign pity, Nadia felt disgusted and told her that she was despicable. However, Whitefoot was unfazed and mentioned that she had expected Nadia to react that way. Nadia was taken aback when Whitefoot revealed that she had been controlled by a demon god and had massacred many people. This revelation triggered Nadia to recall the terrible dream she had, where she saw countless corpses. Whitefoot smiled, seeing that Nadia was visibly shocked. She held Nadia's hands and told her that she shouldn't direct her anger towards her and Ananta. She explained that their common enemy was the incarnation of wings. After some time, Ananta and Whitefoot each returned to their places. Ananta settled down on the ground in the tunnel. He was busy repairing his armor, preparing for the upcoming hunt. Out of nowhere, Whitefoot showed up and told Ananta that she thought something he had said earlier was pointless. She told him that the human sacrifices had nothing to do with him. But Ananta ignored her comments and instead asked about Nadia's situation. The human sacrifices were being escorted to the temple by the winged guardians. Whitefoot told Ananta that she had approached Nadia for her cooperation. Meanwhile, Nadia was feeling confused and had mixed emotions as they were about to head to the sacred tree. On the other hand, Ananta and Whitefoot's plan to offer a sacrifice marked the beginning of their encounter with the incarnation of wings. A helper in the White Lotus Temple would have been impossible to invade due to the barrier was arranged, and the plan involving participation in the arena, which requires the sacrifice, has also been resolved. She told Ananta that if he could get his hands on a branch from the lotus tree, which is awarded in the arena, it wouldn't be long before he meets the incarnation of wings. But Whitefoot still thought the process was quite tedious to begin with. She believed that if Ananta had made up his mind from the start, it would have been easiest to draw the enemy's attention with an indiscriminate massacre. But she also believed that there are lines that should never be crossed. She wondered if Ananta's nature was attempting to draw a line between the realms of man and beast. Whitefoot thought that there are numerous means and methods available. Shortly after, Ananta stood up and told her he could see her rolling her eyes. Ananta got ready for the hunt, determined to finish quickly. He told her to sit quietly and watch from the sidelines. Ananta told her that that's the way he hunts beasts. Whitefoot felt that it was too much, so she advised him not to do anything that would attract attention. The lizard Ruby stayed behind with Whitefoot. Meanwhile, Ananta charged forward and mentioned that he would consider what she had said. The commander instructed his soldiers to form a shield wall. The soldiers immediately followed orders, readying their shields and spears. They were tracking a massive creature that bore the markings of a leopard and was visibly enraged. The leader encouraged his troops to remain fearless and keep their formation intact. Suddenly, one of the soldiers was startled when someone grabbed his shoulder. Ananta shoved the man aside. They were shocked by his action and wondered what he was going to do next. Meanwhile, the massive beast, still enraged, was gearing up to attack him. However, Ananta effortlessly sliced through the beast with just a single strike. The leader was taken aback by Ananta's swift action, while Whitefoot observed the scene in silence. The group's leader was puzzled, wondering how Ananta was managing this so effortlessly. He pondered how an ordinary human could overpower a mystical beast so easily. Meanwhile, Ananta remained in hunting mode. Swiftly, he charged towards the beast. He jumped off, hoping to deliver the final blow and end it once and for all. He delivered a powerful blow to the head of the beast. The scene left the onlookers shocked. He effortlessly defeated the beast using his weapons. As he defeated the beast, Ananta felt a surge of confidence and shouted his victory to the crowd. After his victory shout, Ananta turned towards the sacred tree. He vowed to destroy it and soon devour it. The incarnation of wings was known as a sacred place and was not easily invaded. As the sacrifices were brought forward, the gates opened. When they entered, the door quickly closed behind them. Nadia was still seething with anger at the thought of being one of the sacrifices. As they lined up in front of the tree, a man began speaking to the sacrifices. Nadia felt that the man was malevolent, and she did not trust him. The man was revered by the people as a god. He urged the people to release their fears. He then welcomed them to the temple of the goddess, telling them they were entering a sacred space. The temple, encircled by potent barriers where the white lotus tree resides, is known as the sacred tree. Those who make sacrifices at the temple earn the privilege to compete in the Cepheus arena. Warriors who demonstrate their prowess against formidable spirit beasts are awarded branches from the white lotus tree. Whitefoot shared their strategy with Nadia for confronting the incarnation of wings. After finishing her explanation, she asked Nadia if she had any more questions. Nadia asked her why Ananta wants to kill the incarnation of the wings. Whitefoot replied, saying that the details were complicated and difficult to explain. Whitefoot has endured tough experiences because of the wings. She told her about a being called the Vengeance Incarnate. She explained that this being was the one that made both Ananta's life and her own miserable. The individual, who seemed to embody the essence of wings, urged the gathered crowd to raise their heads and pursue redemption. Upon hearing these words, a wave of terror swept through the crowd. The man declared that he was the saint who had received the adoration and reverence of all people. He informed them that he is the hallowed guardian of the White Lotus Tree. The man is known by the name Balzac El Genie. As he continued to speak, Nadia remained overwhelmed by a sense of weariness. Among the crowd, there was a child who was on the verge of being sacrificed. Balzac urged the crowd to surrender themselves to the wings of salvation, to trust in the deliverance they promised. Suddenly, a person in the crowd knelt down, calling out to capture Balzac's attention. She pleaded with Balzac to save her innocent sister and to show her mercy. However, Balzac simply smiled in response. Raising his hand, Balzac addressed the child, instructing them to demonstrate their devotion with a noble heart. This gesture from Balzac instilled a sense of hope within the child. But in a shocking turn of events, the child's head suddenly exploded. Her sister was left utterly shocked and horrified by what had just occurred. Nadia, along with everyone else present, was equally taken aback and surprised by the sudden and horrifying event. Meanwhile, Balzac calmly sat down and addressed the people, stating that in the presence of death, all deaths are equal. He then spoke to the child, telling them that her sister had just been liberated from fear and pity. He reassured her that her sister would soon be able to attain nirvana and find ultimate peace. Despite Balzac's words, the people remained filled with fear and uncertainty. A soldier among the crowd sensed that something was amiss with Nadia. Suddenly, a strange black aura began to emanate from Nadia. This dark energy originating from Nadia's inner demon. Shortly after, the dark energy enveloping Nadia expanded, surrounding the soldiers and casting them into its ominous shadow. Seeing this, Balzac realized that Nadia was no ordinary person. Overwhelmed by her emotions, Nadia's power surged, causing her to involuntarily release a formidable burst of energy. Despite the tumultuous scene, Balzac maintained his composure. As the situation escalated, Nadia was on the verge of transforming into a monstrous form. However, just as her transformation began, Nadia became acutely aware of the frightened people around her. Despite her hesitation, the people around her began to call her a monster. To her surprise, she hadn't realized that her powers were manifesting visibly. This realization triggered a flood of memories in Nadia, bringing back haunting images of past actions where she had harmed innocent people. Amidst her turmoil, a voice reached out to her and told her not to resist. The kid gazed at him without showing any signs of fear. Nadia was perplexed and unsure of how to proceed. Soon she regained her composure. Suddenly, many vines sprouted from the ground. The vines ensnared the guards, leaving them immobilized. It also formed a defensive barrier to protect the people nearby from harm. Nadia was responsible for creating the barrier, and she assured everyone that there was no need to worry. She promised them that she would keep everyone safe. But suddenly, she was taken aback by an unexpected turn of events. A powerful energy surge struck her directly, catching her off guard. Balzac then stood up and dismissed her words, telling her to stop spouting nonsense since she was just a mere deer. Balzac confronted Nadia, questioning how she dared to face him with such arrogance. However, Nadia remained unfazed by his challenge. Soon after, Nadia began to undergo a transformation. She informed Balzac that she was the avatar of nature. Seeing her transformation, Balzac laughed and remarked that she was quite a bold woman. Suddenly, Nadia sensed something stirring within her vines. Nonetheless, she proceeded and gathered all her energy. She then channeled all her gathered energy directly at Balzac. Balzac smiled, pleased to see Nadia boldly confronting him with her powers. In response, Balzac unleashed his own powers and demanded that Nadia submit to him. Outside, Ananta sensed and heard something unusual. The people around grew curious about the disturbance, suspecting that the commotion was coming from the direction of the white lotus tree. Ananta's curiosity was piqued, and he felt compelled to find out what was happening. Nadia was taken aback when Balzac successfully countered her attack. She was shocked to see her most powerful skill defeated with just a single blow from Balzac. She then realized that Balzac's powers were completely different from her own. Suddenly, the objects above began to shift and move. Shortly after, Balzac gave a signal. A large object then crashed down from above, creating a cloud of dust and debris. Nadia was confused and wondered what was happening. To her surprise, a shadow began enveloping her, casting a dark silhouette around her. She realized that the shadow resembled a monstrous figure looming over her. Suddenly, a child shouted out, warning her that it was dangerous. However, Nadia felt a strange sensation that immobilized her, preventing her from moving. She then realized that she had been pierced by wooden objects, which explained her inability to move. Balzac mockingly cautioned her to watch out. Beside Balzac stood a large, demon-like monster bird, revealing that he was the one controlling it. The warriors were caught off guard when someone unexpectedly stepped into the scene. They talk and consider the possibility that Ananta will win instead of their duke, deviating from the original plan. Since Ananta defeated the mystical beast, he was the one who claimed the trophy. The duke and his warriors listened as the winner of the arena was announced. The winged guardians arrived to present the branch of the white lotus tree to the winner. Duke Bernhard informed his warrior that everything had gone according to plan and there was no issue with who emerged as the winner. The winged guardians quickly approached Ananta to deliver the branch of the white lotus tree, while Duke Bernhard appeared to have a plan brewing in his mind. Ananta's expression remained serious as the guardians presented him with the branch. As they unveiled it, the glowing branch of the white lotus tree was revealed. Ananta quickly seized the glowing branch with his bare hands. As he gripped the branch in his hands, Ananta recalled his determination and the plans he intended to pursue after receiving the branch. Inside the temple of the white lotus tree, the situation appeared increasingly dangerous for Nadia. The children stayed inside the barrier that Nadia had created, watching her from within it. Meanwhile, Nadia was in a precarious state, severely injured and struggling to maintain her balance. The winged monster responsible for her injuries loomed menacingly in front of her. Balzac mocked her, saying it looked like she couldn't keep her promise to protect the people. The faces of the people showed fear as it seemed that Nadia might perish at any moment and would not prevail against Balzac. Balzac laughed sarcastically and taunted Nadia, telling her to hurry up and save the people. Hearing this, Nadia's demeanor shifted, and she was on the verge of exploding with rage. Soon after, all the black energy within her began to surge outward. She confronted Balzac, telling him that he was neither a savior nor anything significant. Fuming with anger, she told him that he was just a terrible demon lord who spread death and instilled fear. Balzac was displeased by Nadia's words. His demeanor shifted, turning the situation even more serious. He pointed at Nadia and declared that true salvation begins by delivering despair. Suddenly, vines began to emerge from the ground within Nadia's vine barrier. To everyone's surprise, the vines started to attack the people inside the barrier. Nadia was taken aback and caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events. Tragically, all of the people were instantly killed by Balzac's power. All the vines then began to move toward the monster. Shortly thereafter, the vines started to be one with the monster. With all the people's lives taken and transferred to the monster, Balzac was pleased and proclaimed that it was a blessing from the wings of salvation. In his frenzy, Balzac told Nadia that her death would be honored. Suddenly, the vines that had pierced the people began to emit a red energy that enveloped them. Nadia watched in confusion, wondering what the red energy enveloping the vines signified. However, she soon realized that the vines were connected to the monster, acting like conduits, sucking the life out of the people and transferring it to the creature. Nadia was shocked to see soul-like figures traveling along the vines. Balzac then spoke, declaring that their location was a hellish field where life and death coexisted. Moreover, Balzac immediately began tearing apart the barriers Nadia had created, and the people within them vanished without a trace. the vines persisted, relentlessly extracting life from the people caught within their grasp. Suddenly, amid the chaos, the Guardian's mask fell off. To her shock, the Guardian's face appeared drained and lifeless. Balzac revealed to her that they were in the process of creating an immortal warrior. The monster continued to roar, relentlessly absorbing the life energy of the humans around it. Nadia, in disbelief, demanded to know how many lives he had already consumed. However, Balzac dismissed her question with a wave of his hand and beckoned Nadia to come closer. Suddenly, the vines wrapped around Nadia's body, completely immobilizing her. He then coldly informed her that he had consumed so many lives that even counting them was meaningless. Balzac approached Nadia, coming close as he walked towards her immobilized form. He leaned in closer and asked if she had any last words. Unfazed, Nadia met his gaze coldly and told Balzac to go to hell. Balzac was already aware that Nadia wasn't going to beg for mercy. All of a sudden, the door swung open. Something odd was hurtling in Balzac's direction. But he sensed it immediately and swiftly sliced the thing off. To his astonishment, it was one of the heads of the Guardians. Ananta lunged forward, attempting to gain the upper hand on Balzac, who simply stood there, waiting for his attack. Ananta's sudden appearance caught Balzac off guard for a moment, surprising him with his abrupt emergence. Instantly, Ananta successfully landed an attack on Balzac. After his attack, Ananta advanced, pressing forward against Balzac. Consequently, Nadia was taken aback by Ananta's sudden arrival, called out his name in surprise. Surprised to find Nadia still alive, Ananta remarked that she was indeed a lucky fellow. Meanwhile, Balzac realized that the object that had pierced him was a branch from the white lotus tree. Turning around coldly, Balzac confronted Ananta, asking if he was the victor of the arena, which would explain the presence of the branch. Balzac mocked Ananta, expressing disbelief that someone like him could win and make it to the temple. Hearing this, Ananta became irritated. But Ananta ignored him and turned to Nadia, asking where she had placed the wings of incarnation. However, Nadia didn't understand what he was talking about. Upon hearing Ananta mention Yo, Balzac grew angry and called Ananta's attention to himself. He angrily told Ananta how dare he insult the great Yo, the incarnation of wings. Balzac's anger intensified, and he was on the verge of transforming. But Ananta spoke up, attempting to clear up the misunderstanding. He called out to both Nadia and Balzac to grab their attention. As Ananta began to transform, he told them that they should know it's not the wings of incarnation. The Guardians of Wings were engaged in a battle against some intruders. During the battle, one of the Guardians accidentally unmasked an intruder. When the mask came off, the Guardian met his end. Duke Bernhard, the leader of the intruders, easily took down the Guardian. Filled with determination, he charged forward toward the white lotus tree. He shouted to his companions, instructing them to destroy anyone who came their way. The battle between the Winged Guardians and the intruders intensified, resulting in a bloody conflict. As the battle raged on, Duke Bernhard wondered about the whereabouts of the arena's champion, who was nowhere to be seen. As he entered the door, Duke Bernhard wondered if it might be a trap. To his surprise, he found several men slain on the stairs. Shocked by the sight, he suspected that the carnage was the work of the arena's winner. Meanwhile, Ananta, Nadia, and Balzac faced off in a heated confrontation, standing directly in front of each other. Nadia couldn't believe that Balzac was not the incarnation of wings, grappling with the reality of her mistaken belief. She looked at Balzac, suspecting that all of his appearance was a facade. Ananta sarcastically mocked Nadia, urging her to use her eyes better to discern whether Balzac truly was the incarnation of the wings. When Ananta suggested she think about why it was named the Great Wings, Nadia recalled its appearance from her dream, connecting the dots in her mind. Ananta explained to her that the symbol of the incarnation of wings is 3 pairs of white wings. Shortly after, Ananta mocked Balzac for pretending to be the incarnation of the Great Wings. He told her that Balzac was a joke because he didn't look anything like the true incarnation. Ananta firmly told Balzac that he was nothing more than a worthless piece of trash with a big mouth. Hearing this, Balzac reverted to his human appearance and told Ananta that his nonsense wasn't even worth a response. Shortly after, Balzac ordered the Guardians to eliminate Ananta, Instantly, Ananta began transforming into his monstrous form. With his bare hands, Ananta chopped off the vines that were binding Nadia. He successfully chopped off the vines, creating an opportunity for Nadia to break free. However, Nadia couldn't maintain her balance as the heavy vines caused her to fall to the ground. Ananta then instructed her to hurry and regain her composure. But as she tried to regain her composure, Nadia suddenly noticed two children near the broken barrier she had created. She noticed that the children were unconscious. Nadia ran towards the unconscious children, while Ananta urgently instructed her to get out of the temple now. The wing guards of the temple, now reanimated as corpses, began charging towards Ananta. Ananta partially transformed into his monstrous form, morphing only his arms as he engaged in a fight with the reanimated corpses. While Ananta was busy fighting them, a large winged monster had already targeted him. The monster roared, making its presence known to Ananta. Suddenly, the monster expelled something strange from its mouth. Sensing the danger, Nadia quickly covered the children with her own body to protect them. As a result of the attack, a sea of smoke enveloped the area. But Ananta managed to dodge the attack and transformed into his complete monstrous form. Without hesitation, Ananta charged forward toward the monster, even though it was only half his size. Ananta charged forward with determination, ready to eliminate the monster. When Ananta attacked the monster, his strike didn't land as powerfully as intended. Realizing this, Ananta moved backward to create a stronger stance, preparing for a more balanced and forceful attack against the monster. As the monster attacked, Ananta swiftly moved away from the location, dodging the assault. Ananta leaped high into the air, channeling his energy into his fist, ready to confront the monster with a powerful blow. Instantly, with a swift snap of his claw, Ananta easily defeated the monster. As a result, the monster collapsed to the ground, defeated by Ananta's powerful strike. Suddenly, Ananta sensed someone charging towards him from behind. Caught off guard, Ananta was shoved to the ground by the unexpected attacker. Balzac placed his foot on Ananta's body, admitting that he was strong despite having gained the upper hand. He told Ananta that he was strong enough to witness the full power of the spirits. Shortly after, Balzac summoned his powers and declared that Ananta was to be crushed under his might. Seeing the situation unfold, Nadia realized that Ananta was in a dangerous predicament. Nadia recognized that the attack being prepared by Balzac was similar to the one that had crushed her earlier. To Balzac's surprise, Ananta suddenly grabbed his wrist and pulled him forcefully. Balzac was taken aback by how quickly Ananta had managed to close the distance between them. Despite the sudden move by Ananta, Balzac remained unfazed, maintaining his composure in the face of the unexpected challenge. Balzac swiftly immobilized Ananta, pinning him to the ground, and told him that he was an ignorant fool for underestimating his strength. Balzac then placed his foot onto Ananta's face, further asserting his dominance in the confrontation. As Ananta launched an attack from his disadvantaged position, Balzac managed to swiftly leap away, avoiding the strike. But Ananta didn't stop there. He quickly recovered and ran towards Balzac, determined to continue the fight. Ananta charged forward relentlessly, but Balzac continued to skillfully dodge his attacks, maintaining his advantage in the confrontation. Balzac leaped away, planning to create some distance between himself and Ananta to strategize his next move. However, Ananta remained persistent, not letting up in his pursuit of Balzac. At that moment, Balzac saw an opening and decided it was the right time to launch a counterattack against Ananta. He launched his attack, targeting Ananta's arm with precision to weaken his ability to counter. Watching his skin rip, Balzac collapsed to the ground. He tore off Ananta's arm completely, finishing it entirely. Yet Ananta remained unfazed and continued on. To his astonishment, Ananta's arm quickly regenerated. As he crashed to the ground, he was shocked to see that Ananta could regenerate. He was puzzled by how Ananta could regenerate so instantly. Ananta's arm seemed stronger and was channeling intense energy into his fist. Quickly, he launched an attack at Balzac with his claws. Balzac saw the attack coming and prepared to defend himself using the vines. However, the attack broke through the vines and completely spilled Balzac's body into two. As a result, Balzac screamed in pain. Nadia witnessed the confrontation and was surprised to see that Ananta's attack had been successful. As Balzac grew weaker, he gradually reverted to his human form. Suddenly, Ananta sensed someone was behind him. It was the giant winged monster, and it attacked him, but he managed to dodge it. As Ananta turned around, he noticed something odd. Balzac was merging with the winged monster. However, Ananta remained unfazed and quickly advanced to confront Balzac. Balzac successfully merged with the monster, and Ananta charged forward to attack. The day appeared ordinary, with the sun shining brightly overhead, casting its warm rays across the landscape. Out of nowhere, an unusual occurrence took place as the sky fractured. The crack began to widen, while the sun's radiance dimmed. Out of nowhere, someone punched through the cracks, shattering the sky completely and leaving a gaping hole in it. From within, a peculiar individual with magical abilities emerged through the cracks. This individual seemed to be an outsider, as they had just ruptured through the fabric of their world. Observing from above, the person gazed down upon the cities sprawled below them. Furthermore, Balzac continued his rage, merging with the monster in an unstoppable fury. Suddenly, he noticed Ananta charging forward. Ananta thrust forward, piercing him in the stomach. Balzac attempted to halt Ananta's advance and pushed him away, preventing him from plunging deeper. As he was pushed, Ananta struggled to maintain his balance. Balzac, seeking revenge, tapped into his powers to control the surrounding vines. In no time, Ananta found himself immobilized as the vines ensnared his feet, pinning him to the ground. Balzac's monstrous creation began to slowly part its jaws. In a split second, a multitude of teeth emerged from within its gaping maw. Balzac threatened Ananta, promising to reduce him to minced meat with the monstrous creature's teeth. In a matter of moments, the monster's teeth began hurtling towards Ananta. However, Ananta had a plan up his sleeve. Attempting to evade the incoming onslaught, Ananta's maneuver resulted in a massive explosion. Nadia grew worried, shouting Ananta's name as she witnessed the unfolding chaos. However, Ananta managed to evade the attack just in time, swiftly maneuvering to Balzac's side to launch a sneak attack. Balzac immediately sensed his presence from the side, so he launched an attack toward the area where he sensed Ananta's presence. However, his attempt was unsuccessful, and Ananta prepared to charge forward with his fist channeled for an attack. Quickly, Ananta struck Balzac with a powerful blow. This unexpected strike caught Balzac completely off guard, dealing a fatal blow. As a consequence, Balzac's anger towards Ananta intensified even further. Suddenly, he observed Ananta dropping to the ground, leaving him surprised and curious about what Ananta might do next. Ananta's appearance seemed more ferocious and formidable, instilling fear in Balzac. Nadia, too, was taken aback by Ananta's altered appearance. Shortly, Balzac attempted to restrain Ananta to the ground with his vines. However, Ananta proved to be incredibly strong, easily breaking free from Balzac's attempt to restrain him. Ananta unleashed a surge of power. Balzac began to contemplate Ananta's immense power, considering it to be beyond human comprehension. In that instant, Balzac had a realization. He understood that he was powerless against Ananta's overwhelming strength and would be crushed before he could even react. But despite knowing he couldn't defeat Ananta's overwhelming power, still launched an attack. Nadia shielded the children with her own body. Meanwhile, Ananta pondered what the incoming attack could be. A cluster of vines emerged from the ground, prompting Ananta to swiftly flee. However, the vines persisted in their pursuit, refusing to relent. Ananta skillfully dodged all the vine attacks aimed at him, attempting to evade their attempts to capture him. He turned his gaze towards Balzac and observed his predicament. He contemplated that no matter how many times he attacked Balzac, he would always recover as long as he possessed the white lotus tree branch. He realized that the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantaged he would become. Suddenly, Ananta had a thought. He glanced at the tree and noticed something falling into it. Quickly, he targeted the tree and quickly went towards it. Ananta planted his feet firmly on the ground, preparing himself for a strong stance. He leaped from the ground, evading the pursuing vines. Balzac and Nadia were surprised and curious about what Ananta was planning to do next. Ananta surged forward, readying his fist for action. To their astonishment, he punched the ceiling from above, shattering it with a powerful blow. As a result, the wall broke into pieces. Shortly after, a large hole appeared on the ceiling, and stones began to tumble down. While Ananta was descending, he was ensnared by Balzac's vines. Balzac speculated that Ananta intended to crush him by breaking through the ceiling. He inquired if Ananta was planning to pull off some kind of foolish stunt. Surprisingly, Ananta then spoke up. He asked Balzac how many lives he had taken up until that moment. Balzac replied that he had devoured so many lives that it was meaningless to count. Hearing this, Ananta began to undergo a transformation. A wing began to emerge from his back. Ananta's transformation instilled a sense of terror in his surroundings. A massive aura of monstrous energy emanated from behind him as Ananta declared to Balzac that he would have to suffer the consequences of his actions. Suddenly, the ceiling began to tremble. Balzac was frightened by what might come crashing down from the ceiling. Suddenly, a horde of corpses appeared, rushing towards the hole in the ceiling. Balzac was surprised as the corpses fell on top of him. The corpses attempted to completely envelop him. Meanwhile, Nadia was surprised, wondering what Ananta had done and what the appearance of the corpses meant. Balzac was in a dire situation as he found himself being devoured by the corpses. More and more corpses started to fall from the ceiling, completely enveloping Balzac. Balzac attempted to break free from the horde of corpses. As he ran, he spotted Nadia and the children and contemplated regaining his energy by devouring them. Nadia stood frozen in terror as Balzac loomed menacingly in front of them. Suddenly, a beam of light emerged from above and hurtled towards Balzac. It crashed into Balzac, creating a blinding explosion of light. Nadia attempted to open her other eyes to see what was happening amidst the chaos. She saw a man atop Balzac who appeared to be completely defeated. The man had black skin adorned with thorns and piercing blue eyes, locking gaze with Nadia, who stood stunned. Suddenly, the mysterious figure knelt down in front of her. He asked Nadia if she had enjoyed her journey. Nadia felt confused by what the man meant. But suddenly, she realized something and turned around. The child she had been protecting earlier suddenly transformed into a man. The man's body grew, tearing apart the clothes he had used to disguise himself as a child. To her surprise, the man was then revealed to be the incarnation of wings. As a fracture appears in the sky, it becomes visible from all around. Whitefoot stated that she observed a tear in space above the white lotus tree. While she was reporting, the lizard monster accompanying her appeared visibly annoyed. She mentioned that if Ananta were in the temple, he would have already encountered the enemy by now. She reported that this meant the avatar of the wings is currently present in the city. Nadia noticed the man known to be the incarnation of wings as he walked past her. The man exuded a strong presence. Suddenly, as he walked past her, Nadia felt her heart begin to race. Feeling pain and terror in her heart, she was left shocked and startled. She looked at the man walking away, wondering who he was. Meanwhile, Balzac began to regain consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he was surprised to see someone who startled him. He glanced at the man and inquired why he was there. Balzac became scared when the man spoke and asked if he had forgotten him. Balzac grew angry and retorted to the man that he hadn't forgotten him, reminding him that he was the ruthless former master who had torn his wings. The man then explained that the reason he took his wings was to punish him for being intoxicated by false glory. Shortly, the man's servant grabbed Balzac by the neck. The incarnation of wings stated that the wings are a divine providence granted only to those meant to soar through the sky from the beginning. However, Balzac argued that it was meaningless for him to say that, as he had revered him more than anyone else. He shouted at the man, declaring that he had sacrificed thousands of lives in his quest to somehow regain his wings. But the man responded, saying that Balzac was foolish. He told him that his reasons were petty. In an instant, Balzac's body started to glow intermittently. Shortly after, Balzac completely vanished into thin air, leaving only dust behind. Meanwhile, Ananta was hiding beneath the pile of corpses. He continued to gaze at the incarnation of wings without making any move. As he looked at them, a memory came flooding back to him, one that had always been vivid in his mind. He remembered being with a man who told him about a dream to find the horizon of a world that connects their world to the land of the gods. Ananta listened as the man vowed that he would never stop until he achieved his dream. The man then turned around and told him that he would do anything it takes, even if it means turning everyone in the world against him. Ananta was stunned by his determination and words, completely speechless. Suddenly, a massive fire spread across the village. It killed all the villagers and consumed them in its flames. At that moment, he remembered a woman calling out his name, urging him to have a safe journey. The woman who had uttered those words also suffered in the chaos and was burned. This triggered Ananta as he recalled those memories. On the other hand, the servant informed the incarnation of wings that the lotus tree held no significance. The man then agreed, stating that the tree was a shameful imitation, not even worthy of being compared to the world tree. Suddenly, he turned around and gazed at Nadia. Nadia was still experiencing the ache in her heart. He stood in front of her with his wings spread open. Suddenly, Ananta rose from the pile of corpses. He revealed himself to them in his complete transformation. Ananta unleashed a surge of power, consumed by rage. Quickly, he hurled his attack towards the man. On the other hand, the man remained in his position, not moving to avoid the attack. As the attack drew closer, the man's servant moved to his defense, attempting to halt the attack. The attack was completely halted by the servant, causing no damage to either of them. The incarnation of wings then smiled, pleased that Ananta had finally revealed himself. He was relieved that he had finally found him. But on the other hand, Ananta was angry and filled with rage towards the man. Ananta quickly moved and charged towards him. The servant stood his ground, waiting for Ananta's incoming attack. The servant halted his strong body, using only his bare fists. The forceful punch from the guardian was so powerful that it pushed Ananta backward. Not only did it strike him, but the attack delivered a fatal blow to Ananta, completely obliterating his head. The guardian then commanded Ananta to disclose his name. However, Ananta remained consumed by rage, unable to see anything beyond the anger simmering within him. So, without hesitation, the guardian swiftly launched a counterattack. Realizing that reasoning with Ananta was futile, the guardian prepared himself to strike without further delay. Ananta, equally poised and ready to strike, growled fiercely at his adversaries. The guardian's attack landed with precision, delivering a fatal blow to Ananta, while Ananta's own assault proved unsuccessful. As the incarnation of wings observed their intense battle, Nadia, still experiencing pain, grew increasingly concerned for Ananta's well-being. In a sudden turn of events, the man was on the brink of reaching Nadia. However, just in time, someone arrived and was prepared to launch an attack against the man. It was one of the warriors who stepped in, shielding Nadia from the man's advance. Duke Bernhard was taken aback by the man's remarkable speed. The incarnation of wings addressed the Duke, questioning why he wouldn't surrender. The man recognized that the warrior was the seasoned Bernhard. Ananta and the Guardian remained locked in the midst of their intense battle. Ananta refused to give up, persisting in his attempts to fight against the Guardian. Meanwhile, Bernhard and the man shared some reuniting moments. All Ananta could think about was how to kill the incarnation of wings. The Guardian kicked away from Ananta as he noticed something peculiar. He observed that Ananta's appearance began to undergo a transformation. In an instant, his skin underwent a drastic change, and his wings emerged. Ananta let out a roar of rage directed towards them. All of them were stunned by Ananta's sudden transformation. However, the incarnation of wings stood boldly in front of him, showing no sign of fear. The man remarked that Ananta's altered appearance was also a familiar sight, as if welcoming them. Ananta transformed completely into his true form, the black dragon Azidahaka.
All of a sudden, Ananta found himself awakening in a completely unfamiliar location. He felt astonished to find himself transported to such a place without any prior warning or understanding of how he got there. He pondered over the timing of his arrival in that unfamiliar place. Realizing the need to escape, he resolved to find a way out of that unfamiliar location. However, he soon found himself questioning where he should go once he managed to escape from his current location. All of a sudden, he heard a voice instructing him to remember. As he looked back, he spotted a dark dragon commanding him to remember the person who had taken everything from him. Ananta inquired the creature about its identity. It dawned on him that the creature was none other than the black dragon, Azidahaka. The black dragon then dismissed him as a cursed mortal. The dragon continued to converse with Ananta about his rage. As Ananta transformed into his complete form, he persisted with his relentless attack. He launched an attack at the Guardian, but the Guardian managed to evade it. The Guardian moved to the other side, away from Ananta. The Guardian then questioned the incarnation of Wings if Ananta had lost his mind and gone berserk. Ananta couldn't focus on anything else and was consumed by rage. So the Guardian was compelled to use his powers. The Guardian prepared to counterattack and confront Ananta, remarking that Ananta was pathetic. The Guardian readied himself to counterattack and engage Ananta in battle, expressing disdain by calling Ananta pathetic. Suddenly, Ananta began channeling fire into his mouth. Shortly after, he released a burst of fire directly towards the Guardian. However, the Guardian refused to yield and decided to defend against the fire with his bare fists. As both of them attacked, it generated a surge of energy when their attacks collided. Shortly after, it resulted in a massive explosion. The incarnation of Wings used his wings to shield himself from the explosion. He then realized that even if Ananta could become the spark of a blaze, he remained steadfast and unmoved. Then he told Bernhard that despite fighting against him, he found him admirable. Bernhard charged forward with the thought that he didn't have time to wait for his comrades to join him. He resolved to fight the man by himself, even if it meant his death. Bernhard channeled all his strength and prepared to attack the man with all his might. Bernhard didn't anticipate that something would be done so recklessly. He was astonished that one blow from the man completely injured him. Consequently, Bernhard felt feeble and released the weapon from his grip. Bernhard, feeling weakened, relinquished his grasp on the weapon as a consequence. The incarnation of Wings instructed him to descend. Suddenly, Bernhard's appearance began to transform. However, the incarnation of Wings attacked before his transformation was complete. The man prevented Bernhard from landing a single blow. He then shifted his focus to Nadia and remarked that he noticed she was trembling with fear. He mentioned to her that she appeared different from her previous self. Upon hearing that, Nadia realized he was correct. She remembered the previous encounters she had with that man. The man floated in front of her, instilling a sense of hope and offering his assistance. The man spoke to her, explaining that the vibrating branches were proof that she too was the chosen vessel of the great tree. However, Nadia was confused about the branches he was referring to. So the man turned and walked over to Balzac's to provide an explanation. Suddenly, he produced a branch and explained that it was a miraculous object that transcended the boundaries of human form, granting superhuman powers. Shortly after, he inserted the branch into the flesh of the monster. Suddenly, the monster's body began to undergo a transformation. The transformation generated a strong light. Shortly, as the transformation concluded, a boy appeared in front of the man. Nadia was surprised by the transformation of the monster and the actions of the man. The boy, named Ziz, revealed that he too had been imprisoned within the monster's body. Meanwhile, Ananta and the Guardian continued their battle. Ananta attempted to seize the Guardian off guard. He struck from above, but the Guardian was alert, so he prepared to counter the attack. As they collided, a massive explosion erupted. The strong force caused the Guardian to be forcefully pushed backward. Ananta remained persistent, standing his ground in front of the Guardian. The Guardian sensed the potent power emanating from Ananta. Suddenly, he noticed that Ananta was spreading his wings. To his surprise, Ananta flew upward and went straight to the hole in the ceiling. Ananta soared into the sky and finally exited the temple. The boy named Ziz was frightened by Ananta's imposing presence. But the man touched his head and reassured him not to be afraid. On the other hand, Ananta was channeling a fireball through his mouth. The fire was growing larger and larger with each passing second. Shortly after, he hurled the fire directly towards the sacred temple. The man then believed that Ananta was disdainful of them for attacking. He raised his palm and informed Ananta that there was no place for him to stand in the sky. The man summoned light to halt his attack. The light halted Ananta's blazing fire, and it approached him. As a result, the light created a massive explosion and brilliance. The light surged throughout the area, visible from outside. Whitefoot and the lizard were also surprised by what had occurred. Whitefoot continued to report on the increasingly serious situation. She confirmed the destruction of the White Lotus tree by the power of the incarnation of wings. The explosion generated a massive cloud of dark smoke in the sky. Ananta was descending from the black smoke, defeated by the incarnation of wings.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to contribute further, you can now buy me a coffee. Every little bit helps in creating more quality content for you. Just click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.